Hey, now I took a few days off. My back was hurting, but before that, I had a fire in the car on the interstate, and I was going down 74, about to hit 280, and semi truck passed me because I was doing 50 and 60 miles an hour. Because when I was getting up to 60, 65 and stuff, it started to get warm. It was getting like to 217, 220. And so I'd slow down to 50 and see if it'd cool down and stuff. And I was doing that, and a semi truck passed me, and something smelled. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Man, I hope that smell was that semi truck going by." So now I'm on high alert because I smelled something. And I'm checking all my gauges and stuff, and everything seems okay. And I look in my mirrors about 20, 30 seconds later, and there's this big plume of like a dark brown smoke, so thick and about the thickness of the car, so thick that I couldn't even see the semi truck behind me. And so I immediately hit the brakes and got to the side of the road, got to the side of the road and hit the brakes, stopped as fast as I could and shut the car off. I jump out of the car and I look under it. There's nothing I can see leaking, and I was kind of quick. I didn't look that good, but I popped the hood, and there's a fire, and I'll show you where it was. The fire was down here, underneath here on the steering rack, and there was a small fire over here in the back there, right down there, where an old fuel line used to be, and it's not connected at all, but it was rubber and it was on fire. And you can see that this is all soaked in oil. Well, that wasn't soaked in oil like that until the end, but you can see the heat of it got to this wiring, but it didn't get to all the way down into the wiring. These covers and stuff are really cheap, and evidently, and they melted real easy, even easier than the black tape did. The black tape held up better than that stuff did. So that's what the damage looks like here. So this oil that you're seeing is because during the fire it melted some other hoses that were for my oil accumulator. And when I started the car to put it on the trailer, oil went everywhere. And that's why it looks all oily all over the place. So that's the top. I'll raise the car up and show you the bottom. So all I run to the trunk, and I'm freaking out because I'm starting to see the beginning of the end. And all I had in my trunk was this tote bag, and I ran over. See how it's burnt? I ran over and I crawl under the car, and I'm trying to put it out, and I told my wife, I said, I need water, find some water. And she's got a half a Pepsi in her hand, and it's in a bottle with one of those pop tops that you'd sip out of. And so I grabbed that from her, and I reach over the top bar here, and I sprayed it down in here, and I sprayed it down in there, and I got some of the fires to go out. The one back there went out pretty easy. And then I crawled underneath the car, and I'll raise it up and show you. That's the oil residue from it just dripping dry. So try to walk around this. I need to get a flashlight. Hold on. All right. So there's the damage to the steering rack. That used to be a rubber boot right there, like that side. The hose right here, right there, that melted and broke. It was routed this way, like this, around shit, around here and away from the exhaust, and then over here. So it had plenty of room, because this hose was attached here like that. That's where that was, and it routed exactly like this. And what I notice is this hose here has absolutely no damage. This one right here has absolutely no damage. This one, no damage. That hose is pristine. This one, it's hard to see with the light so bright, has no damage except for oil stains. Okay, now you look at this. Okay, that was touching right here. Then you look at this. I mean, it's the same heat, it's just a different side of the engine. But this one, I think it caught fire or something and melted, and possibly caused this here to melt. And then the power steering line started leaking and spraying, and then it caught on fire from the heat of the exhaust, I'm sure. This hose right here is for the accumulator, goes to the back seat. That started melting. This brake line, when I went to use the brakes, popped off because it melted and I wasn't able to stop. You can see all over the header that something was burning on the header. The oil, obviously, and this is the fuel line. It used to hang and dangle here, and it melted. And you can see the oil all over the place. I think it came out of this accumulator hose when I started the engine to run it up onto the trailer, because I didn't have a winch. And that's the extent of the damage, actually. So I ordered a steering rack, and I ordered a brake line. And while I was ordering stuff, I ordered a set of springs, because the car sits about 4 inches higher than I want it to in the front. And I ordered a cap for the 6 or no, it's an 8A inline that was on the accumulator. I ordered that. I ordered that so that I'm just going to eliminate the accumulator, because I didn't hardly ever use it anyway. And it was creating a danger. If something happens to that hose, then it's going to start a fire. And I couldn't figure out a way to route it that didn't go behind and between the exhaust and the engine. So I'm just getting rid of it, because it's either that or I black pipe the thing or something, because it didn't work like that. It can't handle the heat. So I bought a bunch of stuff online, actually. I'm trying to remember what it all was. But see how the car is above the wheel there by a few inches? I bought a spring that's 2 inches shorter and a lot softer, because when the car's going down the road, whatever bumps the wheels see, the fender goes like this. It just, the whole car. And it's because I have springs in it that are they're 175 14s that are for a fully loaded air conditioning and everything stock V8 Mustang. Well, I don't have the battery in here, and I don't have the air conditioning, and I'm not going to have this power steering's gone, by the way. I bought a rack that is non-power steering, so I'm not going to have that issue ever again. It's yet to be seen whether these hoses are for the oil filter are good enough. I think they might be, but right here in this cap there's a AN line. I'm going to take that off, and I bought a cap for it specifically so I wouldn't have to take that AN part off and worry about that too much. I'm just going to slap a cap on it, and I might have to take off the wrap since it's soaked in oil, and then I'm going to have to retape these wires and, well, make sure they're right. It started and everything, and that's the coil wires that got heat, that seen the heat. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing when I can actually do something again. Remove the power steering, move the power steering rack, put in a new rack. Oh, I bought new brake setup. I'm getting rid of the power brakes because either the vacuum isn't working good enough or that brake booster back there is bad. So I bought from Motion Raceworks, I bought their power steering, or not power steering, I bought their brake booster there, or not the, I bought the brake booster elimination kit. With it comes with a new master cylinder and a plate that'll raise the master cylinder up an inch or so in the hole that the brake booster is bolted to, and then I'll have to redo these lines. I might remove that I might move the line lock, and the header's probably coming off and the exhaust is probably coming off, and the obviously the wheel well is going to have to either be trimmed really good or come out, and this lost all its support, so I'm probably going to remove that or try to reinforce it somehow. Then all the wiring under there that saw heat, I gotta look into that. So I got a lot of work now in front of me, if I can ever get to it, because I did something that messed up my back, so I'm not going to be able to get to it right away. So this is the stuff I bought. The fire extinguisher is in this pile. It's up in the car. This is the first thing I bought, or one of the first things I bought was a fire extinguisher, because that ain't happening again. Next time there's a fire, it's getting put out right away. So here's the stuff I've gotten in the mail so far: the brake line, the master cylinder, and that white box is the e-brake protection, so that it goes on the 12-volt wire and goes to the ECM and tells the ECM when the e-brake has been applied. I got a brake bleeder because I was having problems getting the brakes to work right. Got the 6-point harness and steering rack, and then that timing light is an advanced light, so I can set it to whatever advance I think I'm wanting it at, and it'll tell me if that's what I'm getting. So I'll be able to check the car to make sure that I got it set for 32, and this should tell me if I'm at 32. I gotta read the instructions. I haven't used a timing light like that before, but it's supposed to tell me what my advance is. It's a really nice light. So that's the stuff I got so far, and the springs are still on their way.